All right, we always talk about coping skills in therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite coping skill?
Mine, now that I do it and use it, is the breathing in for 4 and out for 7.
Me too,
Really?
except for mine, I'm doing box breathing,
Yes.
which is the four,
Yep.
four.
And do you imagine drawing a box when you do it too? Like in your head, if you're a visual person?
No, am I supposed to?
But you can.
Okay.
So that's another
So
coping skill.
both of us like the breathing coping skills. Well,
Yes.
we're going to talk about. Look, is this a coping skill? Me playing with this
Fidgeting,
fidget?
it is.
It could be. Okay, I like to fidget too. Okay,
Yes.
but we're going to talk about coping skills. Do they actually work?
Yes.
Are we doing them right?
Right. Let's
Okay.
do it.
Welcome to It's a Mental Thing, the podcast that dives deep into the power of the mind and the heart of mental health. Whether you're navigating life's challenges, seeking balance, or simply curious about how to care for your mind, you're in the right place. Each week, we explore stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you build resilience, find clarity, and embrace a healthier you. So take a deep breath and let's journey together toward a brighter, more mindful tomorrow. Welcome to It's a Mental Thing, because your mental health matters.
Okay, so coping skills. Just tell me a few of your favorite coping skills to throw out as a therapist.
Okay. It's so, and I will tell patients before I even start making their treatment plan, I'll say, I know it's so cliche for a therapist to say, we've got to start learning how to breathe correctly. So breathing techniques are huge.
Yeah.
Now, what people forget or they'll roll their eyes at is, I'm already taking a deep breath. I already know how to go. But even that was wrong.
Girl, you taking that deep breath from your chest.
Yes, you saw it. So even that was wrong. So saying, am I doing it right or wrong? There is a right way to breathe.
Oh, okay.
And especially if you're an anxious person, say you're about to walk on stage and you're about to give an oral book report. You want to take that deep breath properly, and it's through your diaphragm and through your nose. And I said 4 seconds. So I'm going to through my nose 4. And then I'm going to go out 7, like I'm blowing the air across the room.
Are you doing it with us right now? I bet they
I
are.
hope everybody's doing it with me, because you will sense and you will feel.
But we're not taking that breath from our
No.
chest. We're taking it from our belly. Our belly should be rising.
It should come all the way out, and then so we're wanting the diaphragm to come out and in, out and in. That's what we're wanting when we breathe, and not fast. 4 in and then 7 out. And if you can't take the whole 7 going out, what is your number? Do 4 and 6,
Yeah.
4 and 5, whatever it may be. What that actually does is it actually aligns your nervous system back on track. And so when we tell patients to practice breathing techniques, it's not just for us to say, make sure you're breathing, because obviously you're breathing every day.
You're breathing, yeah.
But if you are in true blown manic episode, if you're in a true blown panic episode, anxiety episode, we're going to breathe in a way as if our adrenaline, like it is sky high. So when you're a runner, if you're not learning how to breathe through your nose and out your mouth, you're going to hyperventilate. So when you're having a full blown anxiety attack and you feel like that fake bear is chasing you, you're
I love that.
breathing
The fake
from
bear. Yeah.
you're breathing really, really hard as if you're running a marathon.
Yeah.
And you get that hyperventilation type of breathing, which then spirals you into a worse feeling of panic and anxiety. But when you can take that deep breath in and actually exhale and take your time, you're going to see that nervous system and feel that nervous system kind of relax.
Chill.
Yes.
And it's true. It really does.
Oh, it's
so
amazing.
So breathing,
Yep.
coping, but we got to do it the right way. And
Yes.
we've got to practice beforehand, not in the heat. I mean, yes, it is to be used
Yeah.
in the heat of these attacks or whatever,
Yeah.
but doing it consistently is helpful because we're just regulating that nervous
Yeah.
system. Okay.
And when you get in your car at the end of the day, before you crank your car, sit there and take that deep breath. And then you can go on about your day. It's just amazing when
I
you
love
can
it.
do it. It just feels, because what you're doing is, I've ended the day. I'm going to practice this deep breath. I'm going to inhale, and then I'm going to exhale. and then I'm going to relax. So if you're not practicing that, it does seem like, they told me to do breathing techniques. So that's something that most therapists you're going to hear
Yeah.
in a session is, let's practice breathing. With kids, I do bubble breathing. I actually have a bubble wand. We pretend bubble breathe. Okay. So I have them actually blow the bubbles. You mentioned box breathing. You think about the four, like the 4 areas of a box.
4, hold. 4.
Yeah, so that's box breathing. The visual part of box breathing, if you're a visual person, you can close your eyes and actually take your deep breath in, and you're going to picture yourself the first top of the box. Then you're going to exhale the bottom part or the side part of the box, the bottom part of the box, the upper part of the box. You're going to do that, and visually you're drawing this box and you're taking those slow breaths.
I just did it while you were doing the
Yeah, I mean, if you're an auditory learner and I tell you to do something visual in your brain, you're not going to want to draw a box in your brain. And so breathing techniques are huge. Another one that I get a lot of eye rolls with is journaling.
Okay, so I would eye roll if you told me to journal
Yeah.
because I hate writing.
Okay, yeah. And I would usually ask you, I would say, are you a writer? And if you said no, I would then, so I have about 6 journals of my own, like throughout my mental health journey or healing journeys of just writing out how I felt. Maybe it's an angry day, maybe it's a sad day. And it's not a Dear Diary, today was, it's not that.
Right.
It's just feelings. Okay?
So it's not like necessarily a structured thing. It could
No.
be.
Oh, it could
It
be
could
so
be,
unstructured.
But it can be very
Yes,
unstructured.
because
Okay.
it's your emotions, your feelings. And so I do tell patients that. I'm like, don't think of it as today was a good day. Today is July. No, we're not. You don't have to do it that way. If that's how you prefer to do it, that's great. But it's your journal. There is no right or wrong way to journal. So for someone like you who doesn't like to write, I would say, then I want you to get your phone and I want you to get your notes app
I
and
was
bullet
just
point.
about to ask you what if I just did voice
You
not
could-
voice memos, but like I like to talk to text,
Oh yeah, you can do that. Like so, and I'll show you in your phone. Obviously, you can go to your notes app, and I have here. I'll show you in my own apps where I would do gratitude. Okay, so like 5 things I'm thankful for. I would just pull them up. And I might write it in certain ways. However, I want it. You can use bullet points. I tell them to call it a bullet journal in their
Yeah.
notes app. And bullet point. Today I felt anxious. That's it. The next bullet point. It's now noon. I feel a little better. The next bullet point. I went in and did the job interview. It actually went well. So that's just getting the thoughts out of your head and you're putting it down somewhere.
Okay, first of all, I am sitting here saying I hate journaling. I would never
right.
journal. Like as we're doing this beforehand, talking about it, I'm like, I hate journaling. And now I realize I've been journaling in my notes section.
Yes.
I have just been, it's a stream of consciousness of how I'm feeling.
Yes.
It's just, and to me, I was just like, I'm just taking a log,
No.
so I can tell my therapist or my psychiatrist, right?
Yeah.
But I'm journaling.
Yeah.
I'm journaling what I'm
A log of
going
your
through.
day. I mean, we used to, people who watch what they're eating or they log their daily meals if they're on some sort of weight loss journey.
Right.
We're not talking calories. We're not talking, it's just today for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I had this.
Yeah.
That's a way of journaling, but it's a daily log. So you can think of it that way too. And a lot of times I will have patients that journal or bullet journal or just write down their thoughts and they'll bring them to session and they'll show it to me. They'll give it to me to read.
I'm sure that's so helpful
It's so
as a
helpful
therapist,
because
right?
then I will then turn around and ask them, why did you say it this way?
Yeah.
I hated myself today for thinking that in 2015, I was mad at this guy. So then I turn it into, why did you hate yourself today?
Yeah.
For something that happened 10 years ago. Then I'm able to ask them that for them to be able to say, I don't really know. And so I'll ask then for permission, can I highlight every negative thing you've said? And they'll say, yeah. So then I'm getting this is in session. So I'm working with them. I use it as an active journal swap. So I will highlight the negative parts. And sometimes on top of that, I'll rewrite what they could have said differently.
Man, you're making me want to actually journal. Like, actually.
Yeah. If you don't like it and you try it, then you know this isn't for me. And that's okay.
But I see the benefit now. Like, really see the benefit.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier, I have so many from years. I remember I have a journal. I was in Tuscaloosa during the April 27th tornado in 2011, and I dated it, and I remember writing how scary that day was, but it was something that caused me great anxiety and great fear and the unknown of all of it. But then I might not. So when I read back through that, it just takes me back to that place of life. But then I might not have opened the journal again for months. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
And I think people think, well, I'm not consistent with it. My
that's
journals would
okay.
go almost years, but then I pick back up. So in that dip of where I haven't journaled or where you haven't journaled, don't be discouraged. That just means maybe things are going well, or maybe your brain is managing enough to be able to handle what's going on in life that you don't need to dump that trash out on paper, that you've been able to recycle and manage through your brain.
Yeah.
So breathing, journaling. I'm really big on mindfulness.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, mindfulness sounds like it's super easy. Something that, everybody says, let's mindfully eat, let's mindfully think, but what that actually means is we're thinking about what we're doing and why we're thinking the way we're thinking. So
You're analyzing yourself,
yes,
basically. Okay.
And people think that it's so easy, but it is not. We're talking positive self-talk. We're talking inner dialogue. So when we're mindfully thinking about that and we're being kind to ourselves and we're being gentle with ourselves during the hardest times of our life, that's being mindful of who we are, what we need in that moment. So
it's really kind of being kind to yourself.
it's all about being kind and gentle, because if we're going through a hard time, no matter what it may be, and we're mean to ourselves, why would we, if our child or if children are going through a bad day, are we going to be mean to them? No. We're going to help them. We're going to learn what's going on.
We want to
We're going to ask them,
love.
how can I help you in this moment? How can I make this a little better for you? If we're having the bad day, we're mad at ourselves. We're done with ourselves. We've cut ourselves off. And we may journal. You were so stupid for thinking about what happened to you last week. Why do we do that? So that's a mindful practice in itself of looking at what you've written and saying, wow, I was really mean to myself on this day.
Yeah.
When I really needed love, nurturing, and care and compassion.
Yeah.
So mindfulness has you have to have a lot of willpower and a lot of practice to do that. Grounding is a technique that I will offer sometimes. Grounding can get really almost kind of hypno nature stuff that I don't practice too much in, but some people do. So some people will say something as intense as, when you're feeling X, Y, and Z, go outside barefoot and put your feet in the grass. So if you think about it, for some people, it's very, so you're actually grounding yourself to nature and to earth,
reality,
to feel, right? So you may be in a moment of something that's going on or in a full-blown panic attack. But when you go outside and you're able to put your feet to that ground and you feel the grass in your toes and you feel your feet on the ground and you make yourself one with nature, the ground, and think, and being a Christian too, like being grateful,
right?
And saying, I am thankful to feel this grass on my feet. I'm thankful for the birds that
For
I'm
the creator
hearing
that
outside.
created
yeah,
this
right.
grass,
So
yeah.
that could be a grounding technique. But
okay.
some people just do it differently. You hear it differently. Meditation is some sort of grounding technique too. So those are a lot of my go-tos, but every therapist is going to do it differently. But yeah, do they work is
Yeah,
the question,
that's-
right?
That's the question, I guess. Do they work and are we doing them right? So I think we've
Right.
kind of covered over like how to do
Uh-huh.
these, right?
Uh-huh.
But do they work? I
Yeah.
mean, I can say with certainty
Yeah.
that the breathing works for me
Mm-hmm.
100%. Does it magically take away?
That's
No.
That's what people are wanting.
That's what they want.
And I understand that. And I think too, the biggest thing is making sure that people practice. You know, you can go into therapy and we can talk about all of these coping skills and we can make this treatment plan and give you every coping skill there is and you go and do them. But what we do in therapy or what we talk about in therapy, you have to leave these doors and go and practice them.
Right.
And if you're only able to do them every once in a while, that's fine. But you're not going to see a huge shift because what we're trying to do is rewire the brain to think differently. You know, I will tell people to, speaking of journaling, do columns, you know, on one side of the paper or in your journal note app, negative thinking, every negative thought you have. And then on the other side, write down the different positive the true statement. Okay. So sometimes they have a really hard time. They've got the negatives down pat, but then so for me,
truth.
if I want to put, I feel like I did a bad job today. That's the negative statement. On the other side of that, I could change that to maybe today wasn't as good as tomorrow will be. So you have to think of
Yeah.
it differently. So what we're trying to do is rewire the brain to think differently. And we want to be able to use both sides of our brain, our left side and our right side of the brain. But if you can't take some of these coping skills and practice them, you aren't going to see as big of a difference as if you're consistent with going to therapy and practicing the coping skills. And another thing I will say is if there is a coping skill that does not work for you, tell your therapist.
Yeah, that's okay.
Don't just say, "Okay, yeah, that sounds great." And then you're not a writer and you do not find any benefit in journaling. Then that therapist needs to find another coping skill that can work for you. Because our job is to make sure I don't like to look at it as homework. Some therapists will give like books to read or a chapter to read a day. But for me, I want a specific skill. I may even give them, hey, for this week, I'm going to challenge you to think about what benefits you and what doesn't. I'm going to challenge you to think only positive thoughts. And when you find yourself thinking of a negative thought about yourself, I want you to be mindful and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to think that today. Again, some of these may sound so easy coming from this side, but until you do them and you realize how hard it is to think in a positive way,
Yeah.
when you're, especially when you're in a negative state of mind, like when your mindset is negative, it's really hard to be grateful, to be thankful, and to be mindful of how kind you need to be to yourself.
Yeah.
So I would say there's no right or wrong way to cope. Let me take that back. There are negative coping skills.
Right.
Okay. So let me take that back. There are negative coping skills. People who self-harm, that is a coping skill, but it is a very negative
one,
coping skill. There are any kind of self-harm, people will grip their hands so their fingernails will kind of dig into their skin. Now, this one is more of a pressure point. So it's as long as they're not doing it with intent to harm themselves, it's almost like muscle relaxation. So that's another technique where I'm taking my deep breath and I'm going to squeeze my fist at the same time as hard as I can, and then I'm going to release. I'm going to release my hand. So that's muscle relaxation. That's a technique that we use. But any kind of self-harm where we're intending to hurt ourselves to feel, is a coping skill, coping mechanism to feel something when we're in pain, but it is a negative coping skill. And that is something that we do not want to continue. Like if you were coming to me and that was the way you were coping through something that was hurting you, I'm going to try to change that coping skill to something else.
Right.
Instead of hurting yourself, I'm going to tell you, hey, go get some ice, squeeze it in your hands. So you're feeling some sort of pain or discomfort, but we're not hurting ourselves.
yeah.
So I wanted to take that back. There's no right or wrong way. What I want to say is there's no correct way to cope with these ways.
With these skills.
You want to do something that works for you. You want to practice them and make sure you're doing the ones that you find that are beneficial to you. If they are not, you throw them in the trash, you find something new. And only knowing how to do them correctly is if you ask and you feel a difference in how you're thinking. So we want to make sure our coping skills are positive, healthy, and lawful. And when I say lawful, we're not hurting anyone, we're not breaking the law, and you want to make sure you're keeping yourself safe. So those are healthy coping skills. Do they work? Yes, they work, especially if you have coping skills that are working for you. The healthy ones, and you are in guidance with your therapist saying, hey, you know what? I really tried the bullet point journaling and it worked. It's really making me think differently. I have patients that will then come in the next week and have 20 things in a bullet point format, and I'm able to go through that. Maybe they're talking points, and then I'm able to go through that. It's not a journal that I think they're going to hand me, but it's the way it worked out of their brain, and it came out on bullet points. So yes, they work, and you have to practice them, and they have to be healthy. The only ones that do not effectively and beneficially work for you are the negative ones where there is self-harm involved. So there are so many coping skills, and a lot of patients don't want to hear the typical cliche coping skills, but there are so many.
But
So
they're there for a reason.
Yes.
They're there because they work. We need to work with them, right?
And you got to practice.
Yeah, practice, and it truly will be helpful. I would love to know if anybody has any different coping skills, like some we didn't talk about. They're like super beneficial for you. Like,
Yeah, because everybody's
send us a
different.
message. We would love to hear about it. Yeah, because I love to hear about new
I would
ones.
love that too.
All right, thanks.
Be sure to follow our podcast on your favorite platform or find us on YouTube. Just a quick note. It's a Mental Thing is here to inform and inspire, but it's not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you're facing a mental health challenge, we encourage you to seek help from a licensed therapist like Erica or a healthcare provider. Remember, your well-being is personal, and only a professional can provide guidance tailored to your unique needs.